The story of us. She hadn't much care for her life, but then life had never shown much care for her. He exuded life, happiness, purpose. That easy contentment people spend decades chasing. They couldn't have been more opposite if they tried. It wasn't warm that afternoon, but it wasn't cold either. That in-between weather where the car's too hot, but the AC feels like a betrayal. Short sleeves work for an hour until the chill sneaks in and demands a jacket. The sun played coy, flirting with the city from behind gray clouds, peeking out just long enough to tease, "Spring's here," before ducking away again. Watching from the passenger seat, her eyes roamed over buildings as the town passed by. The town that had once been hers, where part of her heart still lingered. In a few months, she'd leave it all behind. Her family, her friends, her ex-lovers, and maybe her problems too. She still believed she deserved more than waitressing and overdraft fees, more than mere survival in a long list of failures. That someday she'd be able to live instead of just trying not to drown. In 3 months, she'd move into a 1-bedroom apartment in a historic brick building. No shower heads allowed, something about plumbing in the fine print she hadn't read. She only needed to know that she had received financial aid, secured student housing, and had finally had her escape planned. Her fingers twitched against her phone, arms slack as she leaned back. Venus made a left onto the one-way street she hated. It was narrow, crammed with cars, and cursed with a merge that made the most seasoned drivers sweat. She was glad to let Venus drive. Not that she had a choice. Her car, once a gift from her parents, was long gone, sold off just to afford her rent a year ago. She'd gotten barely half of what it was worth and had asked her brother to steal the snow tires from their parents' garage, knowing they'd never approve. But the city was a walker's town, and she was tired of begging, tired of owing, tired of always falling short. Moving was her reset button, a chance to breathe. Loans would cover rent and food, and a part-time job would cover the rest. She'd spend the next few months working for her grandparents. Free housing, free meals, and enough savings to start fresh. "We met someone the other day," Venus said, breaking the silence. "He's cute, and get this, he reads." She laughed. "Wow, a unicorn. Where'd you find him?" "We were out with Pluto. He brought him. They work together." "Oh, so he reads and he has a job? Be still my heart." Venus smirked. "I know, right? But Saturn called dibs. She's bringing him Saturday. You'll meet him." "Cool. Who else is coming?" "The boys, Mercury, Mars, maybe a few others. My mom's watching the kid for a bit, so she might hang out too." They turned into the alley behind the house they used to rent together, creeping toward the hidden driveway tucked behind a jungle of green. The rain had made everything bloom wildly. The neighborhood, though just minutes from downtown, felt like another world entirely. Her chest ached. She didn't want to leave this behind. Not the city, not the house, not Venus. She shook the doubts away and climbed out of the car. Time to cause a little trouble. They didn't, of course, but the night was good. Drinks, cringy jokes, and a too-late wake-up. College town magic. She stretched beside Venus in bed, watching their favorite show with subtitles on and the volume set low. "I should have left my mattress here instead of selling it," she grumbled. "At least you'd have a guest bed." "You love my enormous bed. Don't even lie," Venus laughed. "What's the plan for tonight?" she asked, wiping yesterday's mascara off with dry fingers. "The boys want to go out again. You in?" "Sure, why not? You got a sitter?" "I'll ask Mars," Venus said, thumbing her phone. "Let me check if the devil left for work, then I'll make breakfast." "He's still that bad?" she asked, trailing her into the living room, passing the room she once rented for $300 and a few babysitting shifts. "Worse somehow." They made coffee, planned outfits, and killed the rest of the day with bad wine and better TV. That night, as they stepped from Venus' car, they found the roads glazed with rain. The streets shimmered under the glow of traffic lights, every puddle a mirror reflecting neon signs and blurred silhouettes. It was a night that made everything look like a memory before it even ended. April in this town meant wet sidewalks, drunken laughter spilling from open doorways, and the occasional flash of stiff wind that reminded you spring was still deciding if she'd stay. Bars and coffee shops buzzed even on weekdays, their doorways cluttered with wet footprints and friends lingering too long in goodbyes. The air smelled like cigarettes, cheap beer, and petrichor, the scent of a city that didn't sleep, only napped between classes and regrets. The glass doors opened to reveal a half-empty bar speckled with students huddling near pool tables and the lone regular who had stayed a few hours too long. A low thrum of music pulsed from the back, and the sharp clack of pool balls echoed off the worn hardwood floors. She leaned into the chaos, letting it drown out the slow churn of thoughts she'd been swimming in all day. There was comfort in the noise of conversations she wasn't a part of, in the way everything in this town felt both temporary and inevitable. Venus ordered drinks while she slipped onto a stool near the pool table, idly scrolling through her phone, pretending not to notice the glances from the table beside her. Not interested, not tonight, and not until her head was above water in a town 400 miles away. Saturn showed up after 11, trailing someone behind her. Neptune. She noticed him slowly, catching flashes of him in her peripheral vision. A quiet laugh, a polite nod. He stayed close to his friends, chatted lightly, ordered nothing loud. But the more the night unfurled, the more her gaze kept finding him, as if her eyes had moved on their own accord. He was magnetic, a man who didn't dominate a room but settled into it like he belonged there. Saturn's request that he take her home surprised no one. She had spent the short time glued to her phone texting, a silent shield around her that shut out the group's conversations. He came back brighter, lighter, like someone had cut a thread he hadn't realized was tied too tight. Neptune differed from those she was used to, genuinely kind and quick-witted without being cruel. He and his roommate told stories, half true and well-rehearsed, but funny all the same. He matched her sarcasm with ease, and when he looked at her, she felt seen in a way she never had before. By the time Venus left, swept away by someone else's arms, her world had tilted, and the center of it had become a man she hadn't known existed 2 hours ago. The bar lights brightened, and someone cut the bassy thumps of the speakers mid-melody. It was closing time. The scraping of chairs and the returning of pool sticks echoed across the room. It was all at once empty and overwhelming, and she didn't want the night to end. "Want to come over?" she asked, the words pulling themselves from her throat. Her heart echoed in her brain, drowning out the sound of goodbyes between friends and the mutterings of employees as they mopped up mysterious sticky liquids. She couldn't quite fill her lungs completely until he gave her a calm smile and a casual shrug. They swung by the gas station, grabbed more drinks, and walked back to Venus's house as if they had done it 100 times before. It was easy, just shy of familiar. Like fate was just waiting for the right night. They dealt cards over the scratch tabletop and exchanged jokes with the precision of people who had known each other longer than they had. Until the devil arrived. Venus's roommate, sharp-tongued and full of petty bitterness, snarled a warning about their volume that sucked the warmth from the room with every slap of his retreating shoes down the hardwood hallway. Neptune had risen from his seat, making quiet preparations to leave. The night had bubbled in novelty, and the devil had taken the prick of a needle to it. "I don't want to stay here," she said, blurting the words before she could second-guess them. His brow lifted with concern, soft but sincere. "Why not?" Venus's roommate isn't exactly welcoming. Her face flushed, either from the drinks the two had shared or the words she would say next. "Can I stay with you?" "Oh, Yeah, sure." He said it like she was asking to borrow a sweater. He spoke easily, radiating a sense of security he probably didn't consider. She didn't know it yet, but that walk to his apartment would be the first step on a road that led her all the way home. They fell in love that night, not all at once, not loudly, but undeniably. In Saturn, she left that night to see someone else, and the universe rewrote its lines in the space she left behind. Some would call it destiny, some would call it luck. She would call it Neptune. He became the stillness in her chaos, her shelter after the storm. He saw the pieces of her, the jagged ones, the quiet ones, the ones she tried to bury, and didn't flinch. He chose her over and over through every backward slide and every great leap forward. He never tried to fix her, he simply stood beside her while she rebuilt. He kissed the cracks, held her steady, reminded her how it felt to be safe. Piece by piece, he gave her a home she could rest in. He didn't just love her, he breathed her back to life.